Welcome to This Commerce Life. We are an unscripted podcast dedicated to small businesses and entrepreneurs in the retail and consumer packaged goods space in Canada and the United States.
I am Phil Chang, co-host and co-founder.
And I'm Kenny Vanucci, co-host and co-founder of This Commerce Life.
Our love is the journey to retail, and our passion is sharing that with you every week.
All right, that sounds good. Well, how do we start then?
Hey, so listeners, we've got Sue. I don't know how you say your last name.
It's Quillen.
Sue
I never would have got there.
No,
okay, I never would have. No,
never would have got there. Still asks. I'm looking. Not going to happen.
So we've got Sue Quillen on, and we you may have seen her on a Fast Thought we did. I was just telling Sue before we kind of hit record that it felt like yesterday, and it wasn't yesterday, but it felt like yesterday that we recorded the Fast Thought on our YouTube channel. And NPC is sponsoring Incubation Alley at CHFA East coming up. But Kenny and I had a great time talking to Sue, and we asked her to come back, and she graciously made time for us. So what we thought we'd do today is just kind of get a sense of Sue, what she does at NPC, and then get her to talk about NPC.
We didn't know anything about NPC really.
We kind of know about Sue already is that she's super humble. So, so you should have seen her face. We said, "No, talk about you," and she was like, "No."
You guys are telling all my secrets.
No, but we love it. So go ahead.
It's all good. It's all good. No, you light it up. You just go.
Yeah, we just we love the conversation we had with you at the Fast Thought, and so we wanted you to come back. The next 45 minutes or so is kind of yours. Whatever you want to do with it. We'd love to learn more about you and NPC. And then we'll kind of see where the conversation takes us, really.
Okay, excellent. Well, first of all, thank you. It was really great speaking with you guys a couple of weeks ago as well, and I'm really thrilled to be here again. There is probably nothing I like more than talking about what I do. I'm really super lucky to have this role in this organization that is doing such great things for Canada and for all the really passionate entrepreneurs that we have. So where to start? You said you wanted to hear about me for a little bit, yeah. So I will graciously tell you. I started out. I grew up in Saskatchewan, not on a farm, but from a family of farmers. Grandparents that were farmers and aunts and uncles that were farmers. So I guess there is a very deep-rooted connection to food in my life. But as an adult, I moved out to Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I've been here ever since my university days. Thought I would just come out here for school and then go on to someplace else, but I just fell in love with this place, and then eventually fell in love with my husband, and that's where we've settled down. So awesome. I'm in Halifax, Nova Scotia. It's fantastic. And I've been with Natural Products Canada since it was formed, which was back in 2016. Prior to that, I was with a relatively aligned organization, but quite different. It was called Genome Atlantic. So it was another organization that was interested in innovation and science, but much more heavily involved in sort of the deep research side of things. Before that, I was client relations manager for a marketing firm here in Halifax, and that was a really great training ground to get to know how government organizations work, how startups work, how big corporations work, because we had clients from all of those categories. So it was a really nice place to sort of see how they all act very differently. I very, very quickly knew that I wanted to stay within the startup world. I really like that energy, the ability to pivot, to be responsive and reactive. So this is the right kind of fit for me. And, that's probably a good segue to Natural Products Canada as a whole. I think that's one of the things that's made us so unique and effective as a government-funded organization. We absolutely act like a startup, and we've had such a strong industry focused board who just refuses to let us be, complacent and rest on any kind of success we've had, but just keeps pushing us to do more, be more effective, and help more companies. That it really is much more like working for a startup as we work for all these startups that we help.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, in essence, I hate to tell you, yeah, you sort of did come from food. You sort of naturally probably landed in the spot. Sometimes
what do you mean sort of came from food?
Well, the whole family's involved in farming. You're born from Saskatchewan. I don't care how you say it.
You're more food than almost everybody else.
Yeah, pretty much more than most people have had on the show.
Yeah. For sure.
That's interesting.
For sure.
Yeah. But, on that note, we're kind of talking about food, but, Natural Products Canada is focused on a lot of other things kind of beyond the realm of food. We tend to be really focused on anything that's biologically based. So any innovation that can come from a biological component and has a biological component at its core of its technology or its innovation. But it doesn't necessarily have to be, applied to food or the food industry. A lot of times, though, it does. There's a lot of things that our clients are working on that are actually contributing to more sustainable agriculture processes, or more sustainable or natural ways of dealing with animal health issues or animal feed issues, that kind of thing. Biopesticides, soil enhancers, those kinds of things that are helping to regenerate the soil versus taking away from it. I probably don't have to tell you guys about the issues that we're having globally in terms of trying to produce enough food in a way that's sustainable, as we get more and more demands on the food production system, and yet the food production system is sort of, it's at capacity, and it's also, part of the reason that the planet is in the state that it's
part
in.
of the problem.
Yeah, so trying to address those issues in a bunch of different ways, from things like biopesticides, as I said, biostimulants, to making better use of the things that are actually being grown. So finding ways to repurpose some of the things that would have normally been considered waste and turning them into value-added products, so that none of that stuff is being dumped in landfills, which is shocking to think that the food that we're growing is just going into landfills, that in many cases it is. So turning those waste materials into things like plastics, into things like value-added food ingredients, or into other things like biosurfactants or other kind of green chemicals that can be used in all sorts of other industries. So, the people that we are working with, these Canadian founders and researchers who are coming up with these unique biologically based innovations, they're not thinking by sector. They're just looking for solutions, and they're spreading their expertise across a whole bunch of different industries. And that's what our job is to really help, regardless of what industry they're trying to apply that technology to, help them to ensure that they're getting the right kind of advice and guidance on how to get that product to market, making sure that they've got the right kind of data and insights that they need about the market that they're going into, looking at regulatory requirements, because in food and in not food, there's a whole lot that needs to be taken care of in terms of regulations. Looking at how they're going to finance themselves, what are their financial projections going to look like, all that sort of stuff. So a lot of advice is given to them, a lot of connecting to other people who can help them along their journey. And then we also have commercialization programs, which is funding for them to help them get across some of those hurdles. So it's quite a lot that we do across a lot of different sectors.
So maybe just to pull it back a little bit, is maybe if you could, because we didn't know anything about MPC, like we really didn't, outside of the fact you were involved with CHFA and we talked, is maybe a little reason why and who started the NPC.
Yeah.
Like, what is the actual purpose of MPC?
Yeah.
And then, because a lot of the cool, and maybe if you can, I don't know what you can divulge on a podcast or not, but maybe walk us through an example of one of these companies how it sort of flows through, because I think there's a lot of our listeners that potentially could sit back after this, when they hear the podcast, and think, shit, maybe I can actually call these people. Like, this might be something I could do. But I'm still not
be calling,
or we should.
Yeah.
Or it's more even people like us that where we hear people and say, you know what, you should actually
you
talk
fit
to these
you
people.
You should be talking.
But I still don't really know what MPC, like why it started, the purpose of it, from whoever decided we needed this, and then really what you guys actually do. Like you talked a little bit at the end there, but I'm just still not sure what an MPC is.
Okay, perfect. Excellent questions. So our origin story is that there were a group of people in Prince Edward Island that were identifying that there were some really great companies in the natural product space in Canada, and that there were some gaps in terms of what resources were available to help support them. So, they maybe weren't getting the kind of advice that they needed. They weren't finding the funding opportunities that they needed. And so this group, which included our CEO, Shelley King, really started thinking about that. And so Shelley was one of the champions who said, this looks like an opportunity. This looks like a growing opportunity for Canada because there's such a push towards green and sustainability and natural and healthy products. So she really pushed to put together a funding proposal to the Canadian government. At the time, the funding proposal went through a thing called the Networks of Centers of Excellence. It's no longer, the program is no longer there. It was called a Center of Excellence for Commercialization and Research. So she led the proposal with a team of people from Prince Edward Island and then right across the country to make sure that it was really a nationally focused organization. And they were funded for $14 million for 5 years. So that was how we got started. Once we were funded, we had to quickly hire a team and figure out how we were going to do things. How are we going to help these companies? What was going to be the best way to help them address these hurdles? And, in many ways, we are quite different than what we were then 7 years ago, but the same ideas and I guess values are there. We really wanted to be an organization that was going to think like business and do things in the speed of business. We recognize that time is probably the most important asset of any startup, and helping them find the information that they need and get the answers that they need quickly is critical. They will perish if they don't get the answers they need quickly. So for us, that meant we needed to be slick. We needed to have systems in place and not try to do too many things, but really focus on those core things, giving them advice, helping them find the money that they needed for certain things if they needed money, and helping them get the connections that they need. So those three things have really been core to our growth over the last 7 years. So fast forward to today, we're now funded by a different arm of government, innovation, science, and economic development. And it's for the same kinds of things. We provide early stage Canadian companies and researchers too, if they've got something that is ready to go or ready to be going through the commercialization process. We help them by providing them with advice. And I think some people tend to maybe jump right past that and go, I can get advice anywhere and I can get it for free. But there really is value in advice and in the strategic advice that our organization can bring. We are unique in that we've got people across the country. We're very, very lean. There's only 10 of us, but we've got people across the country, and we really try to embed ourselves into each region. So each of the regional directors who'd be working on a day-to-day basis with a client would know what is available in that region, would know who to talk to in that region. But more importantly, our regional directors are constantly talking to each other about what's available across the country and even beyond. We have a lot of really great contacts that are in the States and in Europe, and are those experts that the Canadian startups are really going to be able to benefit from. So I can give you lots of examples, and I will in a minute, of how we've been able to provide that kind of advice. But then also we realized that most startups were facing about three major kind of gaps. And when we talk to investors about investing in them, they would repeat the same kind of gaps or things that they could see that were potentially wrong or lacking. And that is some part of the team was missing, some part of the overall strategy or business plan was missing, or they just really needed to validate their technology. So we turned those needs into our three commercialization programs. So we have a proof of concept program that allows the companies to validate their technology through clinical trials or field trials, that kind of thing that's going to really help them determine that their product is going to work at the scale that they need it to be commercially successful. We also have one called access to talent, so that you can get the right person that you need to help you, perhaps with an R&D component, but perhaps with another aspect of just scaling up that business to make it commercially viable. And then we have a smaller little fund called Fast Track to Financing, which is maybe a little bit of a catch-all for trying to address gaps in your business plan or your strategy. Maybe you don't know enough about your market and you haven't looked carefully enough at what your competitors are doing, or you need some real specific help on your regulatory strategy. So it's a smaller pocket of funds that can be used to help address some of those gaps. So, the advice, the really strategic funding that can be given to the companies, and then this network that we've established where we can provide the connections and introductions that are really helpful for these companies. That's the core of our business, and it has been right from day one. That's what we know the companies need, and that's what we deliver to them on a daily basis.
Wow, it's pretty comprehensive.
That's awesome. Really, that's awesome. So 2016, you start this thing. Have you seen, are there any patterns or like who showed up at your door first?
That's what I was going to ask you.
Like,
So
and
how did they find you? Like, do they just phone you? Do they say, hey, I just need you for, like, how do I find you? Why would I find you? Maybe.
Yeah. Once we, when we started, we did a little road show and kind of went to, again, using our regional directors and their knowledge of the local communities, we went out and met with certain organizations and, tech transfer offices and things like that, where there would be innovation happening in each of the provinces across the country. After that, though, we found that, about 50% of the people who came to us were coming from referrals, because people have worked with us. They've seen the level of insight that we have in commercialization. They know about our programs, they know about our network, and they just keep referring people to us. So that's been really great. How do people find us? That's generally, they could find us anyway, but we are out there with social media and things like that, trying to get new clients. But generally speaking, we are in events like CHFA or more bio-industrial type events where we're out there looking for innovative clients that are happening or starting up in Canada. We work with a lot of the incubators and accelerators that are working with those early stage companies. And when we see things that are kind of in our wheelhouse, we'll, step in and try to help wherever we can. But at the start, I guess I'll say a lot of people, given our name, thought we were, primarily natural health products. So we had a lot of those kinds of companies coming to us, which is great. But I think people soon started to realize that we're much more than that we could be working with a company that was developing bioplastics or, functional ingredients for animal feed, or these green chemicals that you could use to replace the more harmful chemicals that are petroleum based. So we really do have a range of all of those kinds of companies. And it's been, now that it's been 7 years, it's been really interesting to see the impact that we've been able to have. We've got numbers that we can throw around from the investments and money that we've given. I should back up and say we had an investment fund previously where we invested in 13 Canadian companies. We no longer have an investment fund per se, but we proved the case. We showed that the 13 companies did really well and were really in need of that investment. And so we've spun out a for-profit investment fund. It is separate from us because we're not for profit. Right. So it is MPC Ventures, and it will be making some announcements very soon about its progress and being able to start making some investments. It's been in sort of the raising process for the last year or so. So that's coming. But so I can say before we did investments, and also we've got our commercialization programs. So we've been giving dollars out to companies. And to date, we can say that for every dollar that we've given a company, they've been able to attract another $64. So from government funders, yeah. I know, it's great. From government funders, and more importantly, from private investors, because that's really what we were trying to do. You probably know that a lot of Canadian companies have a difficult time trying to attract investors. Canada has a different kind of investment ecosystem than there is in the States for a number of reasons, primarily being just sheer volumes. Mm-hmm. So we saw that as a key thing, to be able to have more investors be focused on natural products. There were some issues there because, traditionally we have been interested in natural resources and IT, software. We didn't have a lot of vehicles that were sort of focused on the greener and more sort of biologically based innovation. So we had some education to do with the investment community, but also we needed to show some really good examples of some great companies that were doing great things. So that's really what we did with our 13 investments that we made, and it really helped pave the way for this new investment fund. But yeah, the $64 for everyone that we've invested, it is like we just keep seeing that number rise and rise and rise as the companies keep growing and growing and growing. But it's really effective. I mean, when they get the opportunity to have, like I'll give you an example. Last week, a company called NAAK, N-A-A-K, they're out of Quebec, and they are really focused on athletic snacks and food items. So really pure, clean energy for ultimate distance runners and endurance athletes. So they're looking for things that are going to provide really good, clean energy and lasting energy. And we were able to give them money through our commercialization programs to hire a lead for their R&D team. And he was just a superstar. And, within 12 months, they were able to get this new product out on the market that they just launched last week, which is a new gel that you can take, while you're in the middle of your ultra marathon or whatever, physical pursuit that you're after. So, things like that just help them accelerate their innovation, accelerate their new product development, get them out to more markets. Those kinds of examples we're seeing just over and over and over again, not just with the money that we're giving out, but with these introductions and the advice and connections that we're able to give.
Wow. Whoa.
That's a lot of yeah, that was a lot.
But I think kind of this kind of true expert. I'm a little, I get, so I don't know where you want to go, Kenny, but I think you open by saying you're a pretty small team, and the amazing yet long-winded version of what you just said, right, is that you are like this small and mighty team because you I guess I have that question. So here's my question. Now that I've done being in awe, is I'm not done being in awe. I'm just articulate again. But how does a team of 15?
10.
Sorry, 10.
10 provinces, 10 players.
Okay, all right. So how does a team of 10 figure out how to do? Because Kenny and I see probably a quarter of the problems you see, right? Because we are fairly niche. We cover marketing. We do sales, marketing,
operations
sort of things. You get the entire gambit. how does a team of 10 figure out how to cover, all these needs? Like,
the thing I haven't said well enough yet is network.
Okay.
So we have, very, very good regional directors. First of all, I need to back up and say Shelley King, who is our CEO, is a powerhouse, and she's very good at hiring. She's really good at hiring. We have an exceptional team. And, like I have nothing but respect for everybody on our team because they've got fantastic experience, really are passionate and committed to making things different and making things better. So when you get that kind of experience and you get that kind of passion and you've got a board who's keeping you ultra focused on your goals, that's what you'd hope for any startup, right? You want them to stay focused on what they're really trying to do. So through Shelley's leadership and our board's leadership, I think that's been really helpful. But all that being said, we still are only 10. And what the regional directors are very good at is understanding what the needs are of the company and helping them to address what is their next best step, and then helping them find the person who can.
So you connect. I come in, I've got a specific thing. You're looking and saying, listen, this is where you need to go, and this is who you need to talk to.
Exactly.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Okay. To Phil's point, though, that's still complicated in that there's only 10 of you, and now you're sort of, because you still have, like, you can't just pass and, hey, see you later. Like, you're still involved. I'm trying to understand it too, because I think, I don't know how you guys do this.
Yeah. Well, it is, people need things at different times, right? So, sometimes we'll be really busy, and I say we, I mean, the regional director will be really busy with a client for, a 2 or 3 week time period while they're addressing something. They also lean on each other. The regional directors talk to each other all the time because, I might have one of my colleagues who's like an expert in, tree and forest health and forest, value added things that can come from forestry. And I've got another person who's way more focused on, or has a way more experience in sort of the natural health product end of things. So they talk to each other all the time to kind of make sure that they're leveraging each other's expertise, but then, leveraging the expertise of this network that we've built, which is, probably besides time, one of the most important things that we have is this amazing network. And I think we've been able to grow this amazing network because of the caliber of team that we have.
Right.
They're quick, they catch on to new concepts, they understand the science, they can talk the lingo of the technology with someone from a major corporation who's the head of innovation at, say, Nestle or Cargill, and they can also talk to, that startup and help them understand what is really missing from their business plan. So for 10 people, it is very busy, but not everybody is needing everything at the same time. And generally speaking, when they've got a big thing, like they've got to address, their market strategy or their regulatory strategy, we're going to say, hey, here are 2 or 3 good people you should talk to. I'll make an introduction, and they'll go off and choose the one that they want to work with.
I see. So I guess it's 2 parts. Maybe one's a little early to ask, but so like, is there a typical client of your guys? Like, what do you see? Sort of, is there anything that sort of runs common with all? And like, even then, like in terms of size, so I get a Cargill and Nestle coming to anybody. I mean, if Dom's the right fit, has a little bit of more financial means to do so. If you're a small startup, like, what is this? How does this impact me financially? So sort of a 2-part, like, who is there a sort of a normal customer client, and then sort of what does it cost to do things?
Okay. So I don't know if we could call any, say a typical or normal client, except to say They're all passionate about what they're doing. They've all got something that they think is going to make things better for the planet or people or animals. Like there's always that component. Right. But the range of experience that they have with building a company varies. Right. Generally speaking, it's pretty low. Like they haven't done this before. But we do have a few that are, repeat entrepreneurs. They usually have a product. Sometimes they have a product that they haven't actually put into anybody's hands yet. They're still just trying to figure out if it works, or like if they haven't even got it to a place where they could actually give it to a customer yet. So it really just depends. Again, because we work in things that can be applied to so many industries, it's very different. If you've got a food ingredient that you're trying to sell to, a Nestle, or a food ingredient to Nestle, or food ingredient to Cargill, you've got something that, if you're looking for that kind of level of a customer, you've got a lot of stages and steps to secure that client before you don't just put it on eBay. Like it's right. not something that they've already got to package up and sell. Yeah. And then we do have lots of companies that have like just a really great, consumer product that they are going to sell on Amazon, and they're just looking for, they'd like to improve the formula and have something different for next time, and they need to go through that process. So it really does just depend on what client walks through the door that day.
I think that's sort of where I guess I struggle with this a little bit, in that is like you guys can deal with from some very relatively simple to relatively super complex, but within the same, like there's not, it's tough. Like, I mean, you guys like do a little bit of like everything from ideation to like, now we're just hey, can we sell this, worldwide to main feed producers or whatever it is, or farmers, or I don't care. Or it's retail. Like, I mean, because you guys are all over the place too. It's not just that, like you're everywhere.
Right. And a lot of times when a company is getting to a point where, they've got distribution across Canada, they're probably getting to the point where they're kind of graduating away from us. They probably don't need our services as much anymore. So we do tend to have a sweet spot, with really helping companies get that product onto market, or they could have products on the market, but it's a new product that they're trying to get to market. But we don't work very often with very well-established companies that are just trying to get a new product to market. They already kind of know how to do it. They know
how to do that, I would assume, right?
Yeah.
Now, I guess unless the technology is a lot different, or they're really trying to go into a different phase of this product, or prior to getting to where it is, or post, like trying to figure out.
Right.
You think of like a Jameson, right? If Jameson decided they wanted to make granola bars, or I'm not saying that so nobody think that I'm, but I'm just saying, like, or they wanted to get into like organic, non-GMO spaghetti, right? It'd be like, we have expertise in some things and not in others, right? So there might be something. Yeah.
The way a Jameson would get involved with us would not be on that end of things, but rather if Jameson's looking for new innovation to bring into their portfolio, their product mix, it could be anything from they're looking for more sustainable packaging to they're looking for, something to really help with their probiotic line.
I'm thinking an ingredient or something that's cutting edge, cool.
Exactly. So one of the things that we do is have a lot of showcase events and initiatives. We'll have virtual pitch events. We'll host companies to go to events where they can pitch or exhibit, and we'll put reports together. We're always trying to introduce the innovation to those people who are really the best at the receptor audience, those who can take those ingredients and put that into their own products, because there's a whole lot of them. And how tough it is to develop and package and product and market a brand. It's really tough, right? So a lot of especially in Canada. A lot of entrepreneurs are looking at the way that they can do a B2B instead of a B2C. So, yeah.
Right.
In fact, I was thinking about this the other day. Really great entrepreneurs out in BC. They were looking at what they thought was going to be. They've got this compound, and they thought it was just going to be really great as a disinfectant, and it is. But as they were doing their work, they realized that it was actually super effective against a mite that is causing serious problems in the honeybee populations.
Wow.
And you know how important honeybees are bees are to our ability to keep growing food.
Yeah.
So, in that process, they thought they were going down one path, and they found out this actually works in another much more valuable and much more important category that is very, very underserved. So they were able to pivot, and we were able to help them with some of those important introductions and networking that they needed to help them get to that point. So yeah, it can
what
really
a great example.
It's cool though, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. And I'm assuming that probably happens quite a bit, especially in this type of space where, it's amazing what, your idea is a great idea and you want to go down this path, but there's 3 other paths you could actually go down that could be equally as cool or cooler.
We've definitely, we've got other examples of that too. We have a company who has this really unique technology, and they were using it for one specific thing. And for whatever reason, I can't remember if they asked for the intro or the corporation asked for the intro, but we introduced them to one of our corporate members. And they said, "Oh, could you use it for this?" And they said, "Yes, you could." And it actually changed the whole business model for this startup company. And they've spun off a separate company now based on using this technology for this whole other thing. So yeah, this kind of thing happens. I have many more examples of that. I can't say the names, but yeah, there's a lot more of that happens. And again, that comes from having this caliber of regional director who can ask the right kinds of questions, and then the just excellent network that we have, that when we make those introductions, they're able to provide that really good input or ask those questions that are going to help them see things differently.
Love it.
Sorry, you asked earlier about how do people get involved. We do. It's a membership driven organization. So yeah, the startups have a membership to join and be a part of this and have access to all of this advice and the ability to apply to the programs, that sort of thing. And then we have corporate members as well who can join and be a part of the community. We have investors. We have others that we call innovation support members who can they would be marketers, regulatory experts, legal experts. They can be a part of this community as well. Obviously that's going to be a source of new business for them, but usually they're pretty interested in, this particular area of innovation, and they're usually pretty generous with their time and, insights to help these companies grow.
And so anybody can kind of can join or be part of it? Yeah,
we will talk to you to make sure that you're a good fit. If, we don't want to have people becoming a member, if their technology just really doesn't fit what we're trying to do, because we've got this really, strict sort of definition of biologically based innovation. But yeah, we would love to have more people involved. The bigger the network is, and, the more we can get people in this network, the better it is, because it's those kinds of connections and introductions that are good for everybody.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because you think this is something that almost anyone who listens to this podcast, I think you need.
Well, I think that's where I'm sort of going with it too. Is that, but you know what it was? But prior to talking, when we first started, I thought NPC was just a company that does, I don't know what the hell it did, but it was just some company, right? I didn't know it was sort of like a think tank kind of thing that also has all these. It's it's a kind of like, I thought it was like either true consultative, private sector, we're all about this. I don't know who the hell you guys were. I didn't realize it was government funded, but a consultative service that could provide some expertise from the people they have, the 10 of you. But you also have access to, because we know a few of the board members.
Yeah.
And then you've got, potential companies that could be either investors or people that would use your product. You've also got, like you're all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
it must be a secret still. I mean, we're relatively connected, and I didn't know nothing about this. So I'm kind of.
Yeah, well, good point. And we hear it all the time. We didn't know you existed. And, we have about 4,000 people in our network now, like in our database. We work with about 1,500 startups. So people are finding out about us.
They're finding you.
But clearly not everyone. And that's okay. It's okay that you're slow to the
Well, slow to the table. It's typical. Potentially the two of us, so it's okay. But no, I just think you sound like a really cool resource.
I think we are a really cool resource. We very rarely can't. We're very rarely put in a position where we can't do anything.
Right.
Everybody wants to talk to us to see if they can get our commercialization programs because. It's up to $250,000.
It's a nice fit.
Of course, you're going to be interested in that. But we often find that, people come to us for that, but they come for the money, but they stay for the advice, and the connections, right? Because not everybody is going to be eligible to get the funds. You have to be a certain stage, and you have to be working on a project that fits within, our government mandated restrictions. They're not that restrictive, but it's not going to be for everybody. But that ability to get the insights and expertise of our regional directors and then be connected to people who can help you, like that's to me more valuable. I mean, it's great to throw the numbers around, like for every dollar we give out, they can raise another 64. That's awesome. And I love talking about those numbers, but I hear more often from the team, I was able to connect these guys to these guys and now they're partnering on this.
Right.
I don't really have numbers for those kinds of things, but I hear those stories every day. And it's so great. Like one recently was, one of our clients texted me, and it was like 8:00 at night and said, I need a new supplier because the supplier just went out of business. And within 24 hours, we had them set up with a new supplier, like just because of our network, right?
Yeah, your network knows it.
That kind of stuff, like
that's cool.
It is worth more than the money.
Yeah.
But if I was a startup, I'd probably be looking to see where there was money too. I totally get it, but they're going to get a lot of value for the advice and connections.
It's also not unreasonable. Like if you go to NPC naturalproductscanada.com and you hit join the cluster.
I was going to ask you. So like, what happens when I do that? Do I get scared or?
Well, you have to fill forms in. Which
I don't like.
You don't like. But
so I'd have to find somebody to do that part to get it.
Like the cluster membership looks like it's $150 a year.
It's less than $1 a day, and I know money's tight for startups, but I'm sure they're going to get their money's worth out of that for sure.
Money's tight for everybody. The thing is, I think what people will find within the industry we're in, whether it's food, natural health, I don't care which part of it, whether you're into it, trying to change a chemical or produce a product for the shelves. There are numerous organizations. We'll go back to the original, like we talked, like CHFA, BC Food and Bev. There's across the country. Those are all valuable organizations to be part of because you are literally paying peanuts for a massive network.
Yeah.
Right. And if you can tap into that network, honestly, we spend more. I'd spend more on coffee. Shitty coffee.
We do spend more on coffee.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So honestly, not. And I'm like, Phil, I don't care. I don't need to sell you guys. I don't need to sell anybody. I mean, we believe in what we believe because we've been around probably long enough. And we know that a lot of decisions that we've probably made over time that haven't done as well, probably could have done better if we had a few better connections or been involved in a few different things. That's something you just learned with probably enough bad experiences and age, if you can tap into something that can push you along.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. Yeah. And like, things like, there'll be other things that will cost a little bit more, but as a member, like we'll try to keep the cost really low. Like when we let the companies, be a part of Incubator Alley at CHFA, that's a big step for some of those earlier stage companies. So we brought that price down really low for them so that they could participate and learn as much as they could from being at that trade show. And they're so grateful. Like they love the experience, they love what they learn, and they were able to do it, relatively affordably. I can't do anything about the price of hotels in Toronto, unfortunately.
Or anywhere, trust me, it doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah.
I don't know what night. I don't know. I remember, booking $150 at the airport. That ain't happening no more.
Yeah.
I remember $100. Never mind. That wasn't that long ago either. We're talking like literally pre-COVID.
And there's only so many people I can fit in my basement. So
yeah.
There you
That's
go.
a tip. If I'm in Toronto, that's mine.
Yeah.
But that honestly, it's not a big deal. It really doesn't. So within that, once I'm a member, like, do I also get access to? Is there webinars periodically? Are there like cool forums I could that are maybe part of the membership that I don't have to buck up for, or even if I do, I'm assuming it's nominal. Like I'm in, I can do. I've got access to a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah. What we're doing is, so we have webinars that are sort of, focused on the startups to help address some of the challenges that they have. We use the what we call the innovation support members. So like the experts on regulatory or marketing or whatever, those experts will deliver those webinars. So we're really using the network to serve other parts of the network.
Right.
So yeah, there are things like that. We send a newsletter out every 2 weeks where we showcase, our members that have been in the news. That's really helpful for the investor and corporate audience, but it's also really great for the startups who get that exposure. We do things like our industry reports on various industries. We've done them on the alternative protein industry. We've done it on the natural product industry. And we did one back in March that was on female founders who are in the natural space, where we showcased over 100 Canadian female founders.
That was cool.
Yeah, it was really fun to do that. So, those are other ways that we can help profile the companies, and some of those come with a fee. If we're really doing something big and expensive like that, we'll charge a small fee to help offset some of our costs with that. But we try to keep things really reasonable while providing value and giving them an opportunity to be exposed to a new audience, a strategic and new audience. We'll take them to trade shows like CHFA, or we'll take them to trade shows in the States, or get them in a pitching opportunity where they're going to be in front of new investors, that kind of thing. So yeah, whatever we can do to get them connected to that next right connection, that's what we're working on.
Cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
Cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
Where have you been all of our lives, Sue?
No clue who the hell you were.
Seriously.
No clue.
Well, I didn't know who you guys were until a couple of months ago either. I had heard of you, but I didn't really know what you were. And so
No, but it's not the same thing at all. Like,
no, geez. That's a whole different league.
That's very kind of you, but
yeah,
it's not the same thing at all. Like, so
yeah, I mean, we're talking like mighty mites versus, NHL here.
No, that's amazing. I love it so much. So, I guess we'll put your links in the comments below.
So one of the things that we're really looking forward to is going to be CHFA, obviously in Toronto in a couple of weeks, and we've got 15 really exciting new companies that are going to be there in Incubator Alley. And they are really excellent and awesome, and covering a bunch of different things. We've got some beauty-based supplements. We've got some actual beauty products. We've got some toothpaste, natural toothpaste, and we have more things that you would expect at CHFA with some really interesting food and beverages, functional beverages, ready-to-eat foods, and we've got someone there who's making some really delicious plant-based soft-based cream.
Cool.
Some interesting kombucha. yeah, it's a really interesting mix that will be there in Incubator Alley, and we'll be there too. So if people have
so people can find actually you guys too. So if someone wants to talk and say, well, you know, how do I do this? Because I think the diversity of what you have is going to be intriguing too. Is that if you're listening to it, then you're going to think, wow, okay, I've got something, like you said, in personal body care that I didn't really think I could phone these people or talk to them, or well, maybe
you should,
maybe you can,
and you can,
maybe you should.
Yeah. And our whole team will be there, which is unusual. We're not always in the same place, but our whole team will be there. So they'll be walking the floor, and
all 10 of you,
all 10 of us. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and they'll be walking the floor because obviously we have lots of clients that are on the main trade show floor as well. But you'll be able to find some of us in Incubator Alley and some of us just floating around the floor. So yeah, it'll be great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we'll definitely check it out. I want to see the brand.
We're definitely coming by to say hello. And then, yeah.
And we may do some investigating. Like, what are they really like?
I love it.
I talked to her. She sounded nice, but you know, really,
how do these 10 people really get all that stuff?
Really, yeah, seriously.
They said a lot of nice things, but let's get to it. What is it really like out there?
Yeah. I don't think you'll be disappointed. The team is fantastic.
No, I just think it's still cool. I mean, again, I think it's kind of, sometimes it scares me that because we've been around the industry for so long. I even, like I said, know a few of your board members, and yet knew absolutely nothing of what you guys were. Like nothing.
I think you're getting Lorna and
Mosca
in trouble now. So,
well, you know what? Maybe the two of them deserve it. It's not.
They can take it. There's no question about it. But
Mosca will just blame me anyway, so it's not going to really matter.
I think they can take it, but I wouldn't put the blame on them.
No, I just think it's really cool, though. So honestly, I think it's an interesting thing, and it's, again, anytime that we can promote our country and the innovative people that we have, and we do a lot of cool shit in our country, but as typical Canadians, you know, we just do our typical Canadian thing. We don't talk about it. We don't push it hard enough, you know, and we can do a lot of neat things to help this planet.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are so many fantastic companies that are doing really game-changing things. Like I think if people come in and take a look at our website or come and talk to us at the trade show floor, you know, I'm sure we'll be able to talk to them, see if they're a good fit, but also give them some examples of some of the clients that we're working with that might be good partners and collaborate with them.
I'm excited. I mean, there's so much opportunity out there. I can't wait to meet you at the show too. It'll be cool.
Yeah, it'll be awesome.
Thanks so much, Sue. Thanks for coming on. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay.
Have a great day. Phil, hang on. Sue, let's talk to you later.
Bye, Sue.
Bye.
Ciao.